Well, Eric told me to dress up for the new year. He said wear a button-down shirt. So I found my favorite button-down shirt. Let's talk about the New Year's resolutions the Astros have. We have for them in 2025.
Jainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Happy New Year's, Brett. Happy New Year's to you. Where can I find you on social media?
They can find me at H-Town Wellhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok, at Stros411 on X and on Facebook, and Back to the Bullpen on X, on Instagram, on iHeartRadio and YouTube. Look, I'm always positive, always Stros.
All right, Brett, you're like that student that you tell them to do something and they're skirting the line. They're like doing the bare minimum of what you asked them. Let's dress up for the new year. And you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to wear for my button-up shirt.
No, you said button-up shirt. You did not specify tie. And I haven't worn a button-up shirt in years. Okay. I wore it for a long time when I was a youth pastor. And so I just kind of I don't like dressing up a whole lot.
Okay.
But you know what, Eric, you look pretty snazzy. So
for the wedding, you do have to wear a tie, FYI. So
I know, but that's because I'm a good friend.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go ahead and check us out. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get into the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started today. So guys, I think we did this last year. We've been doing this for the past few years, but we just look at the next year and kind of look at 23, 24, 25 things to look forward to, or resolutions, because we all say, hey, we're going to go ahead and start going to the gym more. We're going to go ahead and start doing this more. And sometimes we don't always follow through with those resolutions, but we know the Astros weren't as successful last year. They got off to that terrible start, and then they had to kind of fight their way back into the playoffs, and then they got knocked out by the stupid Tigers, who are right now apparently favorites to land Alex Bregman, but we'll have to see if they can actually reach a deal in terms of money. But what are 25 resolutions that the Astros need to do, not just to get back into the playoffs? They got into playoffs last year after a disastrous start, but what do they need to do to kind of show everybody? Jock Peterson said, oh, the Astros had their 8 years of fun. That time's over. It's the Rangers time now. So that's bulletin board material. So what are 25 ways the Astros need to improve upon? So we just came up with 25 of our own. After the way the Astros played last year, there's not one way. There's not one thing. So there's many different ways to do it. So I'm going to get us started, Brett. And it's just, I've just mentioned it. Jock Peterson is on the Rangers now. There's no better reason than to beat the Rangers, and the Rangers are in our division. And you've got to make sure you continue that dominance of the AL West. And that's just what you got to do. You got to continue that stronghold.
Yeah, you do. And, Jock Peterson running his mouth, talking about how he's beat the Astros a few times is a little, I don't know. It's just Jock Peterson. Look, he's the guy that's going to talk smack. And if he's not on your team, you don't like him. If he's on your team, you love him. He's one of those. He is kind of a firebrand. And look, Jock Peterson's done a good job. He went over there to the Braves in 21, and they ended up beating us. Maybe he's talking about beating us there, but not as a Dodger. And yes, it adds a little bit of bulletin board material. I think our guys are professional enough that they understand the task at hand. Look, the Rangers got a little better this year. DeGrom's going to be healthy. Eovaldi's re-signed. Their pitching staff is rounding out pretty nicely. Their bullpen still has a lot left to desire, and also they have a lineup with a lot of young stars. You would hope, if you're a Rangers fan, that Adolis Garcia and those guys that had down years have better years this year. So yeah, I mean, beating the Rangers, I think, is what gets you the AL West title. And again, I am kind of counting the A's out, even though they're improved. I'm counting the Angels out because they're the Angels, and I'm counting the Mariners out because the Mariners really haven't done anything. So the Mariners I don't know what they're doing. So yeah, it's a 2-horse race at this point. Beat the Rangers, resolution number 1. So what is resolution number 24? Go ahead.
Guys, we all know this. We all saw a lot of the games last year. A lot of the reasons why the Astros lost in the playoffs and also lost a lot during the season is because they couldn't hit late in games. And so I looked up the stat. They got hit better late in close games. They batted .246 with the OPS of 0.697 there. Bad typing there, but we're trying to do this as a rush. But guys, they've got to do better. We know the bullpen had some issues last year. We'll get to the bullpen in a little bit, but the offense has got to be more consistent. You can't keep on continuing to struggle at the end of games and when it's tight. We saw that Scott Service had a lot of success with his team in one-run games, and that's how he stayed in his job so long. But last year he finally got fired. But the Astros just struggled in just to score runs late in games.
Yeah, they did. And that is something that you want to be able to just simply do better. Now, when they were leading after 8 innings, they were 80-3. So that was something that they did well. But when they were behind, when they trailed in 8 innings, they were 0-56. When they trailed after 7, they were 6-52. When they trailed after 6, they were 9-53. So yeah. Right. They definitely do need to work on scoring, because I believe it was the year before and even the year before that where 7 through 9 innings, I mean, the Astros were outscoring their opponents. I mean, almost like 5-1, it seemed like. Maybe the disparity wasn't that huge, but still, man, that is something that I think would definitely help. So let's look at number 23. Number 23, more patience, 27th in walks with 448, and curb the aggression. Now, one guy that I think is not going to adhere to this, much like I didn't with the button-up shirt order from Eric, is Jose Altuve. I think Jose Altuve is who he is, and he's going to swing at what he swings at, and he was not going to let a whole lot of first pitches go by, but he will hopefully turn those into home runs. But everybody else, I think, just needs to exercise more patience with the loss of Bregman, because we know Bregman more than likely is not coming back. With the loss of Bregman, you lose a guy that has one of the best eyes in baseball. Okay. Now, Paredes gets on base too. He has a pretty good eye for balls and strikes, but no one has the precision focus like Alex Bregman does. And so that's something they're just going to have to work on. Yes, you can be aggressive and rush guys in counts if you know that they are first and second pitch fastball pitchers, but you've got to be strategic about it. And I think, Eric, this somewhat conflated the slow start offensively in 2024.
Yeah, and this is something that the coaches did address at the end of the season, and they met. I know that Dana Brown mentioned it, Joe Spada mentioned it. This is something that they need to improve upon and fix before the next season, because it's a big issue. It's something that they struggled with, and they actually took the fewest pitches in baseball last year, or what they're like one of the. I think they're at the bottom, and so they just need to pick their battles, and just and what happened was you allow the pitchers to get settle into their grooves, and that's why you saw these nobodies pitching these great games against the Astros, because they were trying to jump on pitches, and just that's why.
Yeah, exactly. So let's look at number 22, Eric. Number 22 for our resolutions list is improved running game. We were 21st in steals this last year. So we definitely want to go up. Now, look, the name of the game is not stealing bases, but stolen bases should go up, and it did go up for several clubs. We don't have an Ellie De La Cruz. Kyle Tucker was one of your stolen base guys, so you lose Kyle Tucker. Bregman wasn't a stolen base guy. Christian Walker, he's not slow, but he's not exactly your base stealer. But you know what? In this, can we exclude Yordan Alvarez? Can we say, Yordan Alvarez, we don't want you sliding, we don't want you stealing? Do you know how he got hurt? He stole. Do you know what happens when he slides? His massive body falls on those knees that he's already had replaced in his 20s. So Yordan Alvarez, you are officially exempt from this number 22 New Year's resolution for the Houston Astros. I do not want Yordan Alvarez stealing.
Hey guys, we'll go and continue this conversation next. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
The NFL playoffs are among us, and the regular season is nearing a close, but it doesn't mean it's too late for you to get involved with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's right, $250 in bonus bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up the W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. It's great because they're in the app. They have everything you need. You don't have to go to multiple websites. You just get a hunch during the game, and you can bet on which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com and join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe to us. Make his first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go ahead and check us out. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to all our listeners, everybody that's made us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, wherever you listen to us. But we appreciate everybody that has made us your first watch on YouTube. And go ahead, subscribe to us, make us just go ahead and help us get to that 13,000 mark. I'm not sure where we are, Brett. Where are we?
We are at right now, currently speaking, the actual numbers, real-time numbers, 12,866.
Okay, cool.
So we're less than 150 away from 13,000. And you know what? You know who's been close to a record that I want to see happen? Not a record, but a number. I want to see Yordan Alvarez get to 40 home runs. Yordan Alvarez has not reached 40 home runs, and number 20 is that Yordan Alvarez sets a career high in home runs. 39 is his career high. I would like to see him get 40, 45. I mean, heck, let's stay healthy and flirt with 50. Why not? 50 is the new 20, right? I think it's what they're saying. Hopefully that's the case because I'm turning 50 in August. So hopefully, Yordan Alvarez, make your resolution, 50 home runs for my 50th birthday. How's that?
That's awesome. He's going to do it just for you. So I know that the Astros got off to the bad start. The Yankee series did not help. They're going to face the Mets to start the year off. I know Supreme Panda was talking about that earlier, but you got to gain a lead in division early, avoid falling behind in standings, and you've got to just put your mark on this division. This is the Astros division. The Rangers, the Mariners, the Angels. The Angels are becoming a better team. So just keep in mind that there are going to be a whole bunch of teams. I know that you and I were talking before the show that the Astros still have the highest projected WAR. But if you look, the other teams are getting closer. It's not that big of a difference. So definitely something that the Astros need to look at and just get off to a better start. So is my numbering off?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Go ahead. Number 19, gain the lead in the division early.
No, we already did that one. So my numbering's off.
Oh, no, we just did Yordan Alvarez.
No, I just did the gain the lead in division.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So Yainer Diaz improves his defense. Framing was 56th, and his caught stealing percentage was 17th in blocking. So yes, Yainer Diaz, I've been monitoring his Instagram, and it looks like he's been putting a lot of work in the offseason back at home. He's been having fun playing some charity softball games. He has had his home run derby, I think, with his brother. I'm anxious to hear if he beat him once again. And as he told us, he is, his younger brother is his son and he's his daddy when it comes to that. But what we care about is that glove and that defense, because Eric, it would be a key to have a solid offensive and defensive catcher behind the plate.
Yeah, definitely something the Astros haven't really had going back to Brian McCann days. That's the last time I think we had a guy who is an offensive guy and a defensive guy at the same time. So I think it's very key for him to gain that, because I was looking at a lot of the stats, and he was 17th in blocking. He was his caught stealing it was about like 8th in the league, but if you look at his framing rate, the framing percentage is way down he's like 56 in baseball.
Right.
And so there's just some stuff that he can work on. So moving on to something that people can work on, I believe the new infield coach is something that Jeremy Pena needs. He's been a good defender. He won a Gold Glove, but I know last year, I don't know what it was, but the second half of the season, all of a sudden, he just started making errors left and right. It became a mental thing. So I think that a reset of a season and just focusing on the basics and just getting back to what makes Jeremy Pena a great player. His bat turned around last year, but we need his defense, because a lot of those errors cost the Astros some games.
Well, and the thing is, he made some great throws. He had the arm. It was just everything. Maybe it's a footwork thing. Maybe it's an experience thing. But yeah, I really expect Jeremy Pena's defense to rebound this next year. Number 16. One of the things that I was focusing on, looking back on my Houston Astros year in review for my media guide, basically telling me that the Astros were 18-27 last year in 1-run games. They were 16-15 in 2-run games. So if they can improve the 1-run games, I mean, look, if you win 9 more of those games, if you win 7 more of those games, you're talking about a whole different seeding, possibly in the playoffs. You're talking about possibly putting yourself where you don't have to go to the ALDS, things like that. And maybe things turn out differently this past year. I think it was the Yankees' time. I think they took advantage of having Juan Soto, so they made it. They were the AL representative. So I think to get back to that point, we'll talk about that later. You got to improve in these 1-run games. Losing 1-run games means you're almost there, and this team's just simply got to execute.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but they've got to get off to a better start as well. But it's just crazy how bad this team did in several categories, but they still got the 88 wins, and they still did so well, considering that just shows how dominant they were down the stretch. And you would thought they would have been able to ride some of that hotness into the playoffs. But unfortunately, the Tigers happened, and the Tigers with their rotational bullpen and starting and everything that happened. But we're not going to take a deep dive in this, and I might have misspelled this, so I apologize, but Arrighetti needs to be more consistent. I was typing this really quickly. So Arrighetti needs to be a little bit more consistent. He showed at times that he was a great pitcher. He could be not necessarily ace, but a good 3rd or 4th pitcher for this team. But if he can show at time, like, he was dominant, but the other times he would give up like 3 runs and like 8 runs in like 2/3 of an inning or something like that. So he needs to be a little bit more consistent. That's part of the rookie experience.
Right. Well, what I would say is once he got in the groove, he stayed in the groove, Eric. So what I think he needs to do is get off to a solid start, because the first part of his 2024 was not good. And that's where, you gave up all those runs to Kansas City. He had that kind of, I guess, meltdown. Remember when we cooked spaghetti for Arrighetti and he didn't pitch so well? I still think I have confidence that we could do spaghetti for Arrighetti, and this year he will perform a lot better.
More corn and spaghetti. Yay.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, because if you look at the way he went, the way he did, he was 0-3 in April. Then he went 3-2 in May. June, he was 1-1. July, he kind of tailed off, and then he went 3-2 in August. But overall, his ERA went from a 21 to a 3.92 at the end of the year. So that is exactly what he needs to do.
Hey, guys, thank you for making us your first listen all year round in 2024. Go and continue to do so in 2025. Go ahead. If you listen to us on the way to the game, go and check out Game Time, and we'll be back in a second.
Hey, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Locked On Astros, and our sponsor today is Game Time. Go to the Game Time app, download it today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. So, and in the Game Time app, what you do is you don't have to plan. You don't have to buy it months in advance. You can wait until the day of. You could have gone to Monday Night Nitro or Monday Night Raw. Sorry, Nitro, throwing it back there. And tickets, I was looking right before the event. I didn't go, but there were tickets on the lower level for under $100, and that was on the Game Time app. You can do that for Astros games, Rockets games, Texans games, plays, comedy, whatever you want to do. If you go to cities all across the country, Game Time app is there for you. Super deals. They have great seat views. They have the best deals where they separate all the just kind of good deals and the ones you want. You can specify what you want and when you want it, where you want it, and they will show it to you. If you find the same ticket, and if you find a ticket in the same row in the same section for a different price, a lower price, they'll credit you 110% the difference. Go to Game Time today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? Game time.
Hey, guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead, subscribe to us. Make us first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. We're talking about our 25 Astros New Year's resolutions for 2025. And right now, we're going to go and talk about the two new guys. I know there's more than two new guys, but the guys that are going to be replacing Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker, so to speak, is Christian Walker and Isaac Paredes. They must make an instant impact. I know Paredes, when he went to the Cubs last year, he wasn't quite as good, but he needs to be the player the Astros traded for. And Walker needs to be the guy that they pursued. So it needs to get done.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. And there is a little bit of pressure on both those guys, but I think you're consummate professionals, and I see them doing that. Now, number 13, improved OPS. 8th in Major League Baseball with a third best average. We know that the best way to analyze an offense is not through batting average. Boy, if I could tell you how many times I got that tweet or message the first couple of years I was doing this podcast, you would have thought I was committing a cardinal sin. But the OPS definitely needs to be there. The on-base percentage needs to be there. These are metrics that if the Astros can improve, it would definitely be a massive boost to their standing. And, right here, number 12, getting off to a better start. We need to get off to not a slow start, to not be swept.
I actually got some numbers here. I'm trying to find out. I saw a good article in ESPN today, but the Astros got off to such a bad start, and we're talking about historically bad start. And so we're looking at and Astros just got off to that 12-24 record. And
right.
So they struggled to get back to where they were, but here it is. The only teams that had made the playoffs after losing at least 24 of their first 36 decisions are the 1914 Boston Braves, who were 11-25, 1989 Blue Jays, who were 12-24, and the 1981 Royals, who were 12-24. So basically, the Astros did something that hasn't been done. So you have to wonder if they ran out of steam at the end. And yes, they did a lot of that without Kyle Tucker. And Kyle Tucker struggled a little bit definitely in the Tiger series. And maybe the Astros said, "Oh, I think we did okay without Kyle Tucker." But I think in the long run, they're going to miss Kyle Tucker. But they can't put themselves in such a deficit where they have to crawl out a hole, because that takes up a lot of energy to be perfect. And just like we always say about the starting pitchers, you got to not give up these. Offense has got to score. First, I saw somebody say that earlier. Offense has got to score, and that starting pitchers can't give up a lot of runs, because you're expecting the other part of the team to be perfect, and that can't always happen.
Yeah, right. So number 11. Now this is Eric's puppy right here. This is Eric's baby. Zach DeCenzo takes the next step for the left field job. So we are in the mindset, if the Astros do not go out and get any help, that DeCenzo will be able to compete for that left field job. He's young. We don't know what he can and can't do, or what he will or won't do. If he does get that job, and if he does make it out of spring training, he just needs to step up and be a pro, be a major leaguer, be the kid that hit the home run over the Green Monster when he was in Boston, Eric. And so that was something. The reason why I said this was your baby is because you put that in there, and I wasn't even thinking in that direction. So yeah, that is definitely something that I think would help.
All right. So for number 10, it takes a village. You've all heard that. I know that's more of an older expression, but it's literally going to take a village to replace Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, and technically Alex Bregman at the same time, but what Kyle Tucker did when he was healthy, and I guess Alex Bregman, I guess I should have added them, but you've got to find somebody to replace them in the outfield. You already found somebody to replace the guys in the infield. I guess that's what my line of thinking was. So who in the village is going to step up to play the outfield? Is Chaz McCormick going to have a career year? Is Jake Myers finally going to have that? Are you going to have Pedro Leon? Are you going to have somebody else that's going to enter the equation? So somebody in the village has better stand up and say, I'll volunteer as tribute.
Yeah, definitely. I hear you. Number 9. Hey, Jordan, just stay healthy, sir. Just stay healthy. That's why I said don't slide. That's why, Mr. Alvarez, you are exempt from stealing bases. I don't want you stealing bases right now at all. And so just please make sure that you are healthy, that you are taking the hacks you need to take, and not chasing after stuff you don't need to chase after. That's why we want DeCenzo in left. That's why they want him more as a DH this year. Number 8, Eric, Hunter Brown becomes the ace. Wow, that's huge, because we got Framber Valdez, but Hunter Brown is that kid that we're all looking he's the future of this pitching staff. So I think that right there would bode well for the Houston Astros.
And I think we saw him taking those steps to kind of become an ace. And we don't know if Framber Valdez is going to be here beyond next year. So you need somebody to take that next step. Justin Verlander, as of right now, is not an equation. So you need somebody to take that next step. And Hunter Brown is the most likely candidate. Christian Javier could be a guy that rebounds and becomes an ace again. But right now, it looks like Hunter Brown is the guy. And speaking of last year, putting in a rearview mirror, Ryan Presley is a guy that he wants to just say, oh, that was just 1 year. That was just my bad. I just had a lot of issues with my roommate, Josh Hader. And I say roommate, but bullpen mate, whatever. But I think that Ryan Presley is the professional guy. He'll fix it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's look at number 6, because I want to make sure we get through all these. Be more selective at the plate. Don't be too aggressive. Did we already cover that?
We kind of did, but a little bit different.
Yeah.
This is more at more what you talked about with Jose Altuve and a lot of people swinging at the first pitch. The other one was more about walks.
Oh, okay. Well, I think they kind of are, one and the same. So let's move to this, because Corbin was hoping this was in the top 3. I think it's definitely a top 5 improved runners in scoring position. Now, there was a time where they were still one of the tops in the league. They weren't terrible.
Top 5.
They were top 5, but it would be nice to do more with guys on base. And I think a lot of that in the first part was you got guys on base, but they weren't scoring in the first part, and then they picked it up. And it was odd that they picked it up and did that stuff in the absence of Kyle Tucker. So maybe that's a sign of things to come in 2025. I don't know.
And we keep saying this every year, but maybe this is the time that Lance McCullers stays healthy.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know steps up, but I'm glad you said stays healthy. Lance McCullers Jr. stays healthy, contributes to the ball club. I don't think there's anyone in that clubhouse that's more
Which
chomping
one
at the
stepped
bit.
up? I mean, even if he's a member of the
Well, that's
bullpen
true.
or stepping up is just pitching, performing,
Okay.
doing something versus just being on sideline, because a healthy Lance McCullers, any form is going to help the Houston Astros win.
Okay. Now, number 3. Okay, you got never mind. Okay. You didn't have the number.
The numbering's wrong. That's why I was just like,
okay.
I gave up.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
Better lockdown bullpen. Last year they had 26 blown save and 240 appearances. I think we had a typo there or something, but it was 26 blown saves, and that's just way too many. However many, I think it was 124 or something opportunities, but we know the struggles that Josh Hader had start the season, and then Ryan Presley had, and you also had Brayu and also Montero at times. Montero definitely got DFA'd at one point, but the bullpen had its issue last year. You need to have a better lockdown bullpen, and it starts with Josh Hader. We saw what he did in the wild card series, and he's being paid a lot of money to do what he does, and so he's got to perform better.
Now, I think this next one is probably going to be important to where they go and how they do going into the future. Is extend or re-sign Framber Valdez. I think they're going to have to probably re-sign him. I think Framber Valdez, they may let him do what everybody else has done, let him test the free agent market. But I think Framber Valdez has a higher chance.
Then bye-bye.
Yeah. Well, I think of all the pitchers we have, he's the guy that would stay because of, I think, the mental side of it. I think his connection with the club means a lot with him. And I don't know how he would fare in another city, if I'm being quite honest. And so I would like to see that. He's one of the pitchers I want us to see them sign. Number 2, Joe Espada learns from his first year growing pains. And look, there's always calls on a 162 game season that you or I or anybody's not going to agree with. And that's going to happen. Okay. Of course, nobody knows more than the armchair quarterbacks. That is who we are and who everybody else is. Whether you call yourself an armchair quarterback or not, that's essentially what we are on the sidelines. We are second guessing decisions that we've had 4 or 5 minutes to think about after the fact, or we see the result. Because what's interesting about coaching moves is when they work, the coach is praised. When they don't, the coach is an idiot. And so I think in all, Joe Espada is a guy that really cares about his job. And I think Joe Espada truly is going to be, I think he's going to handle things and manage things better. Actually, this next year, if he doesn't, he's going to be expected. There's going to be a lot of things expected from him.
Well, I think it's about learning from your mistakes, like he learned with Alvarez batting second. Other teams do it, but it's also about the personnel. Alvarez doesn't have success batting second. Shohei Ohtani might, but they're different people. So I think that it's just a situation where Espada made some moves last year. It may not have paid off, and maybe he's learned from that, and now you need to use those experiences from last year and kind of go from there. And this was something that Brett and I were kind of discussing. What are the goals? The overall goal is to go to the World Series. And is this team ready to go to the World Series as constructed? We don't know. That's the answer that Brett and I were like, we don't know. But the goal is to go back to the World Series, not just to go to ALCS, not just to go to a stupid wild card series and get eliminated by Bregman and the Tigers, but it's a situation where we want them to get to the ultimate goal, which is the World Series. Do they have the pitching to do it? Sure. Do they have the infield to do it? Sure. Do they have the defense to do it? Sure. The question is, will they get enough from the outfield to get it done? They have a deep enough lineup outside of 6 or 7, 8, 9. That's the question mark. And until they address that, that's the only thing that's a little bit questionable for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just going to put this up because you and I were talking about this, and I actually peeled it back a little bit. And I said, I want to get back to the ALCS. Is this club a World Series winning team right now? Absolutely not. There's no way you can put this team up against what the Dodgers have right now. The Mets might be that team too. But win the AL West, get to the ALCS, then the World Series is in sight. Because when you're in the ALCS, you got a 50-50 shot. I mean, we still, in 2023, we're one game away. If we didn't see a monumental meltdown at Minute Maid, okay, the Houston Astros would have gone on and won that World Series. There's no way the Diamondbacks were beating the Astros or any American League team that year. They got on a hot streak and they deserve to be there, okay? But at the end of the day, for this year, New Year's resolution, for me, the goal, win the West, get to the ALCS, then you have a chance to go to the World Series. But I do not think that this team, as constructed, is going to win a World Series this year. Now, can they? Sure, anybody can. I mean, it's, they are one of the top teams. They project the highest WAR, one of the highest WARs in the American League. They project over the Rangers. And so they do have the potential, but it's not as realistic as we would like it to be at the current state.
But at the same time, I think every team, its goal is to get to the World Series. And the A's, they're not telling their players, oh, we're just hoping to get to 80 wins this year. We're just hoping to get this. They know, the players know, the owners know, but they're not saying, oh, we're just hoping to get to 80. Their goal is to get to the World Series. And so you can't just say, oh, we're just hoping we get back to ALCS. Anything else from there is gravy. I hear what you're saying, Brett. I absolutely hear what you're saying, but they need to, their goal, this is a World Series contender.
Well, they're going to tell you. Not. Right. Well, they weren't last year.
Right.
They weren't last year. I mean, until they're not, that's the state they're in. They're not a World Series contending team right now. That may be your goal. I mean, the Texans' goal at the beginning of the season was to win the Super Bowl, right? Well, they're going to be lucky if they win a playoff game the way they're playing right now. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and 162. And there's a lot of things that can happen with other teams. I mean, the American League can bust open where teams get hit with injuries. I mean, even if you're a World Series contending team, that's why I dialed it back a little bit, saying, yes, my goal is win the World Series. The Astros, you asked them in the clubhouse, what's our goal? We want to win the World Series. That's our goal every year, and that's their standard, okay? But at the end of the day, right now, if I'm making a resolution, because I've broken pretty much every resolution I've made, that's why I don't make them anymore, is resolutions have to be obtainable. And right now, I don't think a World Series is obtainable. I think getting in the playoffs and getting to an ALCS is obtainable. If we're in the National League, I don't know. I mean, it's rough over there. You know what I'm saying? So a little bit different perspective, but I think you make a solid point from your perspective. I think I make a solid point from mine. I'm not lowering my standards, but if I'm setting a resolution or a goal, I'm setting a goal that I can achieve and obtain. And then once I obtain that goal, I set another goal. That's why goal setting needs to be year round, not just that's another reason why your New Year's resolutions, fam, why they never come true, because you don't set obtainable goals. And then when you fail at it, you think you're done. And then the rest of the year, you're woe is me. And then you go to December, man, I sure can't wait for a new year. Stop living like that, dude. Like, I'm just going to give you a little life coaching right now.
Right.
Small goals throughout the year. Work on those things. Get started on it now. Y'all have been great. This has been fantastic. Eric, I have a resolution for our show. Our show resolution is to get to 20,000 subscribers this year. 20,000 subscribers. And I would like us to be resolute right now about doing at least 2 Astros games this year and a few live shows. So let's look at those things. Let's have these resolutions. That's my goal for Locked On Astros.
All right, guys. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen all year. Thank you for doing that. And go ahead and continue to subscribe to us. And we will see you next year, because next time we talk, it'll be next year. So happy New Year's Eve. Stay safe. Have a DD if you're going to be out drinking, and just stay safe, and hope to see you next year. And go Astros.
Go Astros. I still have the shot glass you got me. I think I might take it tonight to my dad's.
Okay. Well, have
Bring
fun.
in the new year. Yeah.
We're about to head off to Katie.
All right. Safe.